sometimes progress is the W. Like maintaining in some seasons is winning. This has been my big focus right now. And I'm not the first person to say this, but just winning the day. And Bill Ackman had this hard season where he was getting divorced. He just lost $4 billion. And he was not him today. He was earlier on his career. So, I mean, it was just the worst. And it was just a terrible slog. And he said one of the difficult parts about that period is that there was no one thing that was like, oh, I can tackle this today. Like you're not going to finish the divorce.
हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू किंग मार्क फिटनेस। आज है हमारा बैक और बाइसेप का वर्कआउट, तो बिना देरी किए चलिए शुरू करते हैं।
It's like how do you navigate through that? And for anyone who's listening right now, it's like maybe it's the bad breakup, maybe it's or maybe you're getting divorced, right? Or maybe it's like the business isn't working the way you want. It's like, and there's like 10 things that you have to fix. And so he had this very tactical advice, which I liked a lot, which is he just tried to make progress, and that was it. And he said, you know, in a day, it's almost negligible, right? But at 30 days, you're like, okay, I moved this. And at 90, you're like, wow. Does this mean that our mood is still being dictated by circumstance? Yes, I'll be honest. Yes, it does. But I think many of us have this ideal. We'd love to be in a great mood in the absence of things to be in a great mood about. But I had this one great podcast today. I'm going to make that thing the thing that's making this a great day. And then if I can make that great day, then maybe it could be a great week. And then trying to expand those, basically like let those good moments eat up the season in actively trying to minimize all the down things and super focus on those moments and be like, cool, I had that good moment, that's my day. Day's made. And I'm trying to even say that more. Basically, I've had to recalibrate my entire scale to how little of a thing can happen that makes my day. How little of a thing can happen that makes my week. How little of a thing can make my month. How crazy would it be if a year from now I say, that was a great year. I'm putting a huge amount of my discretionary effort into this because it's my belief that right now, what will prevent me from achieving my ultimate goals, because that motherfucker's not gone, is running out of steam because I don't need to do this. Like, I don't need to work this hard. I'd prefer to make the ride more enjoyable.
Realize it never mattered to begin with. What's that?
If you want it all, life will give you nothing. We're willing to sacrifice everything that we have for the thing that we want. And then once we get the thing that we want back the things that we sacrificed, which really just goes to the heart of the human condition, which is we want it all. And we're not willing to make trades. And so one of the reasons that I've actually, I would say, largely tossed out the deathbed regrets of most people is that what they do typically is they will have the bias of wanting the other path they could have taken without considering the cost of that path. So they say, hey, I was really successful and I did all these things, but you know, I would give it all up today to have my family. It's like, well, yeah, but you didn't, because you actually chose the path that you're on and you weren't willing to do that. But what you are saying right now is that you want it all. Sure, so does everyone. And so I've had a few moments of clarity over the last year or so, but we want everything without the cost, and everything has a price, and you will never be able to get the sufficient price tag paid on everything to achieve a modicum of success in any domain unless you are willing to trade from another. And I think that has significantly minimized my regret.
We give up our 20s for our 30s. We give up our 30s for our 40s for our 50s, and we trade everything we achieved in our 30s, 40s, and 50s to get back to our 20s.
We give up the thing we have most of for the thing that we have least of.
And we give up the thing that we want for the thing that's supposed to get it. I will become happy when I'm sufficiently successful, and I will sacrifice my happiness in pursuit of success so that I can become sufficiently successful so I can finally be happy. We spend our 20s wanting to be richer and older and have a family, then we start that in our 30s and we gain more wealth and do the family thing, and then we get to our 40s and we've got more responsibilities, we've accumulated all of this stuff, and then we think, God, if only I could go back to my 20s. But you were fucking miserable in your 20s. You hated it. You had no idea whether you were going to be successful. You were constantly concerned about money. You were desperately needing validation from all of these people around you. You were permanently in dissatisfaction about this stuff.
we already know how the movie ends when we go back and say we want to relive it. And you can't relive it in the same context because uncertainty is the largest part of the story.
Perhaps golden years can only happen in our memory. Nobody believes that we're living through a golden era right now.
We never think we're in the good old days. But the good old days are always now. I have spent a huge amount of mental resources accepting suffering and not saying that there's something wrong with something bad. Like a huge amount of mental resources go into this because I've been better and faster at correcting the loop of like, oh, I am not happy with this particular thing, and therefore there's something wrong.
Yeah, so fix the story that I tell myself as opposed to fix the thing.
And that's been super helpful with the addition of everything that I remember will always be better than it was. And the nice thing is that there's tons of science that backs this up, which is that we learn through reward and punishment. Punishment fades with time, no matter how bad it was. Like, you get drunk, you get hungover, you say, I'll never drink again. 7 days later, you're out drinking again. Why? The punishment of the hangover fades quickly. You are with somebody for a while, you're like, this bitch is crazy, or this guy is crazy, and then you break up, and then all of a sudden, what do you remember? The good times. Because reward sticks. And in some ways, there's a little bit of a hopeful message there, which is that when you look back on your life, you will disproportionately remember the good times, but it only becomes a problem if you limit the present, which is the only thing you've ever actually lived in. When I think about a business and I want to grow it, for example, I would think, okay, what are all the things that can destroy this business? And this is Charlie Munger, this isn't me. But basically, he says, invert, always invert. And Einstein said that too. And it's because like you get to use this way stronger horsepower engine of like, how do I grow my business? That's you could obviously think that way, but the alternative would be like, how would I absolutely destroy this business in the fewest possible moves? And then when you list out those moves, you're like, cool, now let's do the opposite of that. Yeah. And that has been, honestly, a lot of some of the sources of my greatest kind of creative moments have come from these apparently obvious things that would kill us. Well, what if we did the even more obvious thing and did the opposite of what would destroy us? And it's worked better than I deserve.
Figure out what you want. Ignore the opinions of others. Do so much work, it would be unreasonable that you fail. Realize it never mattered to begin with. Help others once you get there. You've already achieved the things you said would make you successful.
Yeah, the first 5 steps there is is basically my master life plan. I had a pretty terrible first out of college experience of work, but from that I learned some of the most important life lessons that I still take to this day. And that boss particularly said one thing to me one day. She
हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू किंग मार्क फिटनेस। आज था हमारा बैक का वर्कआउट। तो देखिए, जब भी आप जिम में आते हैं तो बैक आपको प्रॉपर लगानी पड़ेगी। प्रॉपर बैक लगाने के लिए आप किसी भी एक स्पेसिफिक एक्सरसाइज से स्टिक होके आपका बैक नहीं लगेगा। आपके बैक वर्कआउट के लिए आपको मिड बैक, अपर लैट्स, लोअर बैक, अपर बैक, आपको इन सभी को टारगेट करना पड़ेगा। जो हमारे मेनली दो मशीन्स होते हैं, लैट पुल डाउन प्लस रो, इस पे आप आपके अपर लैट्स को टारगेट कर सकते हैं। इस एक्सरसाइज से आप अपर लैट्स को टारगेट करते हैं और इस मशीन पे लोअर लैट्स को, मिड बैक को। हमारा रॉड रहता है, इस पे हम डेडलिफ्ट लेते हैं बारबेल रॉड पे, तो ये मोस्टली टारगेट करता है आपके लोअर बैक को और ओवरऑल बैक के थिकनेस के लिए। तो जब भी आप आए, ट्राई करें कि आप सारे एक्सरसाइज करने का ट्राई करें। अगर सारे भी नहीं हो सकते तो हर एक मसल को एक एक्सरसाइज टारगेट करें, उस हिसाब से आप आपका वर्कआउट शेड्यूल कीजिए। अगर सिर्फ 1-2 मशीन मारेंगे, स्पेसिफिक किसी एक्सरसाइज पसंद है तो सिर्फ वो करेंगे, तो उससे आपकी ओवरऑल बैक डेवलप नहीं होगी, वाइड नहीं होगी। ऐसे टिप्स के लिए मेरे चैनल को फॉलो कीजिए।